I'm Ariana Yingling, and my partner is Zola McDonald. For our project, we decided to look at a study about devoicing in European languages. The study we looked at is titled Stop and Fricative Devoicing in European Portuguese, Italian, and German, and was done by Daniel Pape of University of Aveiro in Portugal and Luis M.T. Jesus, also University of Aveiro. To start, the study is looking to find how European Portuguese relates to other European languages in the behavior of how it devoices. They found that it is more similar to German than Italian in terms of its devoicing properties. The reason for this study is because while there are other studies that have been done, there was a discrepancy in their methods leading to some inconclusive data. The method used by the researchers was to take a consonant-vowel syllable, with the consonant and vowel being the same in the word. An example of this would be like lala or mama. The stress in the sentence went into the pseudo-word, while the lexical stress went into the syllable. They used all stops and fricatives possible in the relevant languages, which are European Portuguese, Italian, and German, and the vowels they used for European Portuguese are E, A, O, and A, and using the same vowels, accounting for their language variation, of course, for Northern Italian speakers. For German, the vowels they used are I, E, and A, because in German, the lax vowels are more similar to European Portuguese than the tense vowels are. Things like ja, like in journal, only being in loanwords in German and non-existent in Italian, were accounted for. The study notes that they used whole consonant strategy in stops, as there is no problem dealing with cases of missing bursts, which is common in European Portuguese in b, d, and g. The language collected showed that consonant lengths across the languages were close to each other, with voiceless consonants being longer than voiced, while vowel length actually saw some variation. Italian had the longest vowel length and German the shortest. It is shown that devoicing in German and European Portuguese occurs in the beginning of a consonant sound, thus supporting the idea that German and European Portuguese are similar in devoicing properties. Italian, on the other hand, had its devoicing stay consistent throughout the sound's length. It should also be mentioned that in this study, it was found that tongue height for a vowel was a large indicator to devoicing, but this doesn't apply to Italian. One thing the researchers say, and I quote directly from the paper in section 3.2, is, in both cases, it is not purely articulatory or aerodynamic conditions that lead to the observed patterns, but languages, possibly due to their distinct phonological systems, chose phonetically different realizations or cues. This means that, for languages, devoicing does not happen purely because of place of articulation, but also largely from the language-specific conditions in which the devoicing occurs. It would seem that Italian can possibly be regarded as an outlier language for the purpose of this study. To me, it's rather interesting they examined German specifically, as they had to change the vowels used because German tense vowels were not as similar to the vowels being used for European Portuguese. I assume they chose German because it is the root of the Germanic-based languages, but I do have to beg the question if it is a reliable language for this research when the vowels had to be switched up. I assume that is also why they used Italian, because it is one of the closer languages to Latin, which is the root to the Romance languages. I do find it curious that German seems to be more phonologically related to European Portuguese, as they both have different stems of language. German is Germanic and Portuguese is Latin. Having very little background on these languages, I would assume European Portuguese and Italian would be similar, but it's actually the other way around, with European Portuguese and German being more similar. Now I'll turn this over to Zola to talk some more about the results of this study. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Zola. So some results that we found were that European Portuguese consonant voicing pattern differs from Italian and other Romance languages, but is more similar to voicing German profiles. The researchers further examined European Portuguese, EP, by taking into account native speakers and influences of manner of articulation, consonant position, and vowel height context. In the speaking dependency of voice pattern section of voicing profiles, they said that for voiceless consonants, voicing stops at the first 20% of the obstruent duration and then continues when the onset of the following vowel begins. And for voice consonants, voicing gradually decreases during the first 40%, plateaus, and then continues again. They compared 6 speakers and found no pattern of voicing in place of articulation among speakers. An example is that one speaker showed more and steeper devoicing in a posterior place of articulation. However, 2 other speakers didn't show any evidence for the opposite trend. What all speakers do share is the trend of having more voicing in fricatives than for stops. From this, the researchers found no evidence in EP for higher or steeper devoicing for more posterior place of articulation. Thus, there is a difference between EP, German, and English, where devoicing increases in a posterior place of articulation. For the dependence of consonant position and manner of articulation section of voicing profiles, they said that for the medial and initial consonant positions, all the speakers show that all EPs phonologically voice stops and fricatives experience a substantial amount of devoicing. Also, among the speakers, phonologically voiced stops do not increase in the initial consonant position. If we compare these positions with place of articulation, then stronger devoicing for velar stops in initial position is shown. Then in medial position, this does not happen. In the vowel context effects for velar stops of voicing profiles, they said that stop devoicing shows to be stronger with velars because the velum is the smallest back cavity of the mouth. The researchers also compared EP velar stop profiles for differing height contexts. What results was that 5 of 6 showed significantly stronger devoicing in initial position when it is in a low vowel context. The one outlier speaker showed to have stronger devoicing in a higher vowel context in the initial position and partly in the medial. Additionally, one of the speakers showed indifference towards the vowel context. In the statistical validation at the obstruent midpoint section of the paper, the researchers said that they computed a linear mix model to show that the data of EP. A P less than 0.05 threshold was used to test effects like consonant position, vowel context, place of articulation, and their interactions of devoicing at the midpoints of obstruents. They ran a model for each manner of articulation, one for stops and one for fricatives. For EP fricatives, there was no effect on consonant position, vowel context, or place of articulation. For EP stops, there was no noticeable differences in vowel context. There were noticeable differences in vowel context, where higher voicing probability showed for higher vowels. For place of articulation, there was lower voicing probability for velars than for dentals. Additionally, there was significant interaction between vowel context with vowel O and all other vowels and consonant positions. To some, the writer said that we found significantly higher stop devoicing for low vowel context than for high. There is no statistically significant difference between initial and medial consonant positions. Also, was more devoicing for velar stops than in other places of articulation. Thank you.